okay, my sister has this reading, and Ursula's a palm reader, and Ellen came home with this little tape. I'll never forget it. And I didn't think much of any psychic at the time. I mean, I was just busy surviving life, never mind looking at the future. So she brings home the tape recording of the reading from Ursula doing her palm reading. And, you know, the information on this tape was so profound to me because I couldn't understand how a woman who had never met our family could give my sister such accurate information on our lives. And like, she had our family down to these little pegs. It was almost uncanny. It was absolutely uncanny. So there was something in me that I just thought, well, you know, I can't be that much of a skeptic if this is proving already to have some credence to it. So in my head at 16, I thought, okay, here I go. I'm going to go off to the palm reader, and let's just see what she says about me. And sure enough, so she took some inked prints of both of my hands, and she started to also look physically at my hands. And at the time, she informed me that I have something on my palms that she referred to as moons of vision. And apparently palmists will look for this, and they want to see how developed it is, how raised it is from your palm would be an indicator as to how much you can see in respect of being a seer. And also when you look closely at these little mounts or mounds, they also have all of these really interesting circles around them. So usually palmists are looking at this mound of vision or mount of vision to determine how many circles do you have and how raised is it. So when Ursula saw this in my hands, I'll never forget it because she said, "Oh my heavens, you can see, like you're gonna see." And, you know, it kind of went in one ear and out the other, and I just thought, well, I don't know, man. I'm just here for the same old thing people are usually coming to psychics for. Never mind that, just tell me about men, money, and marriage. You know, I was like seeing, you know, I just, in one ear, out the other when I was 16. So then, you know, I made my way all the way through 16 into 20 and into my mid-20s, and not really thinking of much else. I was a photographer at the time, and that was my career at the time. I was an artist, and I was happy, and it was considered my path at the time. And then what happened closer to 28 is my maternal grandmother happened to suffer a stroke. And I remember distinctly from pretty much the moment she suffered her stroke, I could feel energies within me absolutely change. And, you know, it's interesting because also at 28, astrologers will tell you that you go through something called Saturn return. Which is just, as far as I'm concerned, it's actually a karmic cycle. Saturn return is considered in my books a karmic cycle, which is very important. You redefine yourself approaching 28 with the help of Saturn's energy. You're looking at everything from your foundations to your beliefs to your father figures to your career objectives. So it was a very high-key time for me because I had already gone through some art, I had already gone through some photography, I had gone through a little bit of law actually, and here my grandmother suffers the stroke. And I kind of felt I needed a change of life, and it seemed like her stroke was bringing it to me whether I was ready or not. And I remember distinctly having this vision. I was on a plane coming home from California, and I just, you know, didn't know exactly what to keep doing at 28 into 30. And I remember distinctly that it was the first vision I ever had. It was like the strangest thing because I'm on this plane and I'm sort of in a, you know, awake yet a slightly meditative state for being there in a chair all alone on a plane, just feeling it move. And here I could see my hand, although my hands were here, you know, all of a sudden in spirit I could see my hand, and it was appearing right beside me. And all of a sudden it kind of came crashing down, and I literally saw it as if it was crashing down and hitting a table. And when I was seeing the vision, there were so many things going on in my head because I thought, I know that's my hand. Why is it in spirit? Why is it hitting the table? But as it did, it was like this feeling of now, you're changing, things are going to happen. So I realized when I was coming back into Toronto, I just realized there were so many things out of place with my life. So one thing led to another, and I just changed everything almost overnight. I quit jobs, I left apartment buildings that I lived in, and I all of a sudden ended up in Toronto in Liberty Street Village in a photo studio, deciding that I'm going into art. And I had to go and look at the studio. I found one in the paper, and I made an appointment with the landlord, and off I went to the studio. And the woman who opened the door to let me look at the studio greeted me very well. There was a pit bull with her, and certainly wasn't afraid of the pit bull. But as I looked through the threshold of the doorway, I could not believe what I saw, because I could see, as you see on a hot, hot, hot day, if you look at pavement, you'll see those wavy, wavy lines where you'll see heat lines. Heat coming off the pavement, and you can see it like a vapor. It looks like a vapor, really. And I was looking through that window, or the door rather, I was looking through that door, and I kind of had to catch my breath, because I was aware that, you know, on my side of the door, there were no vapors, you know, but beyond that door, I could see these vapors. And I remember distinctly, you know, looking at the woman, and then I was looking at the pit bull, and then I was looking at these vapors through this dimension that I didn't quite understand, but I knew I could see it at that moment. And I stood there, and I realized within myself that, you know, if you cross over into this doorway, you're not going back.